So now we're going to look at speech synthesis, which is the other part of the speech API. And what I want to do is be able to type some text in here and also have some voices that we can choose from and then have it speak. So if we look at the index HTML, very simple. We do have just a simple style sheet as well, just to kind of, make it look not horrible. And then we have a form with an ID of form. We have a text area with the ID of text input, a select box with the ID of voice select, and then a submit button. So very, very simple. Now in the JavaScript, let's open that up, and we're going to initialize a variable at the top here, and I'm going to call it synth. And we want to set that to window.speech_synthesis. So speech synthesis like that. And then we're going to have two functions. One is going to be to submit and have it speak, and one is going to be to fill this select box with voices. So we're going to do the speak first, and then we'll add the voices capability. So let's have an event. We'll say document.getElementById, and we want to get the form. And then we're going to have an event listener for a submit, and then we'll call a function called onSubmit. Okay, and then we'll come up here. Let's say function onSubmit. We're going to pass in our event object and then just call e.preventDefault. And then I'm going to get the text. So let's call this text input, and then we'll get element by ID, and that has an ID of text dash input. You could set it to the value if you want, but I usually like to just set it to the element and then use the value where I need it. So for now, let's just do a console log. So console log of text input dot value, just to make sure that the form's hooked up. So I'll just type in hello, click speak, and now we see hello. So what we need to do with this text input is we need to pass it into a constructor function called speech synthesis utterance. So let's go ahead and say const, and I'm going to call this variable utter this, and set this to new speech. Where is it? Speech synthesis utterance, and then pass in that value. And then we should be able to take our synth object, and we should be able to call dot speak and then pass in our utterance. So utter this. So let's try that out. We'll say hello world.
Hello world.
All right, so it's working.
Hello world.
Say my name is Hal, and I am here to destroy you. I don't know, it's just what came to mind.
Hello world, my name is Hal, and I am here to destroy you.
All right, so we get it. We have it speaking. Now I want to be able to select different voices. So what we'll do is have another function here, and we're going to call it add voices to select, because that's what we want this to do. All right, and then we'll set, let's see, we're going to need to use the voice select in both functions. So let's go up top here, and we'll say const voice select, and we'll set that to document, and that has an ID of voice dash select. All right, and then down here, let's say const voices, and that synth object has a method called get voices. So that will give us the voices. Then I'm going to loop through the voices and basically fill the select box with options. So let's say let I equals 0, and then as long as I is less than the voices array length, and we want to increment by 1, then I'm going to create a variable called option, and we're going to create that element. So document dot create element, which we've used quite a bit. We're going to create an option. Whoops. Create element option. Okay, and then for the text, let's say option dot text content. For the text content, we're going to set that to a template string. And then in here, let's take voices. We want whatever index we're on, so just I for the index, and then the name. And then in parentheses, we'll have the language. Actually, no, let's not do that, because I believe it's all English. So yeah, we'll do that, just voices name. If it's the default voice, so let's go down here and let's say if the voices and then the current index and dot default, then let's say for the option text content, we're going to append just dash default. So we'll do right here space dash and then default. All right, then we want to just set on that option, we want to set an attribute. So we're going to say set attribute, and it's going to be data. Yeah, let's say data dash lang, and set that to voices, whatever the current voice in the iteration, dot lang. And then we want to do the same thing for data name. So data name, and we're going to set that to whatever that voice is, name. All right, and then the last thing we want to do is just add it to the select list. So we'll take our voice select, and we're going to append child, and we want to pass in the option. So we're going to do that for every voice in this voices array. And then we need to call this. So let's go down to the bottom here, and we'll go right here, and we'll call add voices to select. And then I'm also going to put an if statement here, because we want to say if the speech synthesis dot on voices changed. So this is an event handler. If on voices changed is not equal to undefined. So if it is defined, then we want to set speech synthesis dot on voices changed equal to our add voices to select. All right, so let's save that, and now we should have, so you can see Alex dash default. We have all these different names, right? And if I choose like Fred, now it's not gonna be any different right now. Oh, I should probably type something.
Hello.
So the voice actually hasn't changed, because we have to implement that within our on submit. Right now, that function that we just created was just to fill this with the available voices. And it's different by operating system. If you're on Windows, I believe you'll have different options. So let's see, in our on submit, we're going to want to go right above where we do our speak. So synth.speak. And let's say const selected option, and that's going to be our voice select element, and then dot selected options, and we want that's going to be an array. We want the first element, and then we want to get attribute. Okay, so we're going to get attribute, and we're going to get the data dash name, which we assigned above. And then we're going to do a for loop here, And we want to again loop through the voices. So let's say let I equals 0. And we'll say as long as I is less than voices dot length. Actually, we need, wait a minute. We're going to need access to voices. Let's just finish this first. So let's say I plus plus. And then in here, we'll say if voices and the current voice, if the name is equal to the selected option, then we're going to say utter this dot voice. So our utterance, we're assigning the voice to whatever is selected. So we'll say voices and then the current iteration or current index. All right, now if I choose something here, why did home? I don't know why I just wrote home. All right, so yeah, as I thought, voices is not defined. So what I'm going to do is up here, let's say let voices. And then here I'm going to take off const. Let's try that. Hello world. Let's choose Anna.
Hello world.
Yep, so there we go.
Hello world.
So the voice has changed. Let's choose Ellen,
Hello world.
Diego,
Hello world.
Juan,
Hello world.
Mariska.
Hello world.
So they're all different accents.
Hello world.
And you can get the lang, this right here. If you want, you can put that in the option right here where we have our text content. We could do like, we could say voices, whatever the current voice is, and then dot lang. Oops, what just happened? Dot lang. Yeah, so ENUS. So now it just has the, oh,
Hello world.
okay, so it reads in English, but this basically is like the accent of the person.
Hello world.
And then this stuff down here, Google, let's see.
Hello world.
Oh, that sounds very realistic. Espanol.
Hello world.
All right, so you can play around with it, but I think it's pretty cool, especially if you're building like applications for special needs for nonverbal people. That really, has a place in my heart because, again, I have a son that's nonverbal, so tools like that are really, really helpful to kids and people like him. But yeah, so that's it. We've looked at both of the concepts of the web speech API.